How's that? Good. Welcome everyone to the Budget Committee meeting. A portion of the school board. We recommend the budget to the school board and they approve it, but tonight we got to get through, hear the message and see where we're at for a budget and what the staff has come up with and then we'll make a motion and ask questions and see if we can at least move the budget forward to the school board. So that's the goal for tonight. For right now, let's do a quick introductions around the table here. And we can also go to the administrators in the back, but I'll start. And let's go this way around the table, all the way around, back around, and then finish up here with Joe next to me. So I'm Mark Vargas. All three of my kids went to the school district here since kindergarten all the way through. They're all basically through college now, working different things on and off with life. And I have my first grandbaby, so he's been entertaining my time. And in 3 weeks, my wife and I are going to Italy and Greece. So it's good to be here. I've been on this committee since 2019. Or yes, wait,
Longer
no,
than
1999.
Yeah.
I knew there were nines in there. 1999.
I'm thinking. I was like, oh, wait.
Go this way.
I'm Dwayne Robinson. My wife was in the school district as a SPED teacher's assistant. And all three of our kids went through K through 12. And that's been a long time. So now I have 6 grandsons. We're looking for a girl and it hasn't happened yet. It may not happen, but I'll be thankful for whatever we get. Anyway, it's a privilege to be here and to be on this meeting.
Rick Nagel, school board member since 1999. And I graduated Phoenix High School and I had grandkids that graduated Phoenix High School.
I'm Roland Gretschman. My daughter went to K through 12 here. I've been on the budget committee for a bunch of years. I don't recall how many of these meetings I've been to, but hopefully we have a good budget.
Diana Rasmussen, I'm the newest member on the board, and both my sons graduated from Phoenix High School. Went through, I think my oldest was in the 4th or 5th grade, and the other one is K through. So, yeah.
I'm Yasmin Carabinas, I'm the director of accounting, and I've been with the district now, this will be my 15th year.
I'm Brent Berry, superintendent, and finishing my 21st year in the district and 9th year superintendent.
Denise Skinner, I'm the executive assistant to the superintendent and the board secretary as well, and I've been here for 10 years.
Yeah, Canyon is, he runs our tech, he's been on board for about a year and he's kind of saved us in our tech in our production. So thank you, Canyon.
Yes.
Jessica Hamlin, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources. Apologies for being late.
6 demerits.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kent Palair. I'm principal at Orchard Hill. This is my 8th budget meeting, I suppose. So thank you for your hard work on the oversight of that.
Heather Little, principal over at Talent Elementary. Since we're doing years, 20th year. Looking forward to that kid.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shauna Schleif, principal at Phoenix Elementary School. This is my 21st year. And I think it's my 15th or 16th budget committee meeting.
Aaron Santi, Administrator of Magna Programs Evaluation and Assessment. 21st year, 19th budget committee meeting.
So hard to follow.
Hi, I'm Kaylin Cross. I'm the principal here at the high school, and this is my 4th year.
Good evening, thanks for being here. I'm Tiffany Lambert, I'm Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and this is my 9th budget committee.
I'm Polly Fairmont. I went K through 12 and graduated Phoenix High. I have also 2 daughters who graduated here. I graduated with Carrie Vargas. She was in my class.
Buenas noches, good evening, Nancy Castillo McKinnis, and I've been on the board since 2020, and all three of my babies have also gone through the Phoenix Talent School District, and my last one, God willing, graduates on June 6th.
Yeah.
I'm Mark Kraus. I've got two kids at school over here. I've got my daughter who's in second grade at Talent Elementary and my son who's in seventh grade at school. And this is my second budget committee meeting, so I guess I'm starting second year service.
I'm Dawn Watson. Both of my boys went K through 12 in this district. I was on the board since 2013, and before that, I was on the budget committee for I don't know how long, a couple years.
And I'm Joe Charter. I'm new to the budget committee. I also have a new granddaughter, also on my way to Europe in a couple days.
Glad you're here. Thanks, everyone. It's neat to hear the tenure and the duration as you go around with folks, and some of you I've known since 1999. So, very good. We have to approve the minutes. First thing from last year, they're inside packet. They were also sent out. So if anybody has any questions, speak now. Not motion to approve the minutes from last year. Be accepted. Dawn, did you say you were gonna make a motion to approve the minutes?
Oh, I move to approve the minutes from last year.
I'll second it. And second by Polly, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion, okay. Next is the election of officers. Dwayne, you had a thought?
Yeah, I did. If you guys don't mind, I would like to make a motion just to keep them as they are for next year, which would mean Mark as the chair and myself as vice chair, I guess, if I could make that motion as the vice chair.
You can make that motion.
Can I do that?
If there's a second.
I'll second that.
Rick will second that. Any discussion on that? Everybody's okay with that for now? Okay, motion's been made to keep the current officers in place for this next year. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we got our officers in place for this 26-27. Okay. Budget message, which the school district does a really good job giving us an overhead and a look at what things are gonna look like and breaking things down, and they spend a lot of time putting together the budget itself. They give us a lot of times put things in binders, and Yasmin's been busy, and so has Brent, other folks and the administrative head of this place. So let's hear what we got to hear.
Thank you very much, and I just want to thank you guys for serving on the budget committee as well. And I think we may have one other, David Sherman, the new budget member. He may pop in, and if he does, he can introduce himself as well. But thank you again for volunteering your time. Appreciate you, Yasmin, obviously, for really looking over the budget and scouring through the numbers over the last several months. We're going to present a budget that we feel is fair and consistent with our strategic plan and meets the needs of our students in our community, along with making sure that we're looking ahead to any other financial challenges that we may have. So just want to kind of go through the budget committee that you know there's 7 members from the community and 7 members from the board that make up the budget committee. The budget committee responsibility is that they receive the budget message and the documents from staff, request any additional information if needed, and then they'll recommend administration make increases or decreases if necessary. And then they'll finally recommend approval for the budget, and then that goes to the school board. The school board's responsibility is that they'll hold a public hearing. They'll take action on the proposed budget. And then if there's any supplemental budget, which happens every once in a while, I think it's been a couple of years since we've had to adopt a supplemental budget. That's actually the board's responsibility. That does not need to go back to the budget committee. That makes sure that's the reason we would do a supplemental budget is to make sure we have enough appropriations to finish the year for either payroll or some other unexpected expenses that came up. Today, we're here for the budget meeting, and then on June 4th, we'll have the public hearing, and then the board will act on that as an action item on that June 4th meeting. I just want to first recognize that if you've been a budget member, committee member since 1999, say, it was a different format over the last several years. This has been kind of a year in the making with Yasmin and I to work with the company and work with an outfit to really get our budget documents in a user friendly, more focused, visually friendly format for our budget committee and especially our community. We will have this posted on our website, which is a requirement. And we'll have it interactively where you can really kind of go in and see where our money is being spent. If we really feel like that was, it's important all the time, but as we continue to be in some financial challenging times, leading into the next several years, it'll be very important that we're transparent on how we're spending our money. So I'm excited about that, and Yasmin will share some of that, what that looks like, and take you through that document. Overall, we're in a good position. We are recommending a budget that is obviously balanced. That's first and foremost, but it also does represent $4 million in cuts, and it's mainly in the grants area, and so it is a reduced budget from last year. We still are going to propose, and you'll see this at the end of next year, we still propose a 13% ending fund balance, which is really important for our district and our community to make sure we can weather any unnecessary or unforeseen expenses that come up. Board policy is 8%. We like to keep it right around there. We've been fortunate to be able to leverage some funds over the last several years to carry an ending fund balance that's healthy into this next year, and we will still have one based on this budget for the end of next year. With that said, I mentioned that we're proactively planning for the future. We know, and I was talking to Joe on the way in, we know the stability of the state funding model the way it is right now is fairly unpredictable, and there's no guarantees to have the resources that our kids really need in K-12 schools with a lot of competing priorities out there in our state. So just to conclude, this detailed budget aligns with our strategic plan and emphasizes improving student outcomes. And with that brief intro, I'm going to turn it over to really the star of the show every year, Yasmin, to kind of dig into the budget document.
Thank you, Brent. Let's get right to it. So if you are in the district's website and you go to departments business, you will see that
you're sharing the screen.
Yes. Oh.
Click.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Brent. Okay, so if you are in the district's website, minimize this as well. You will see that we have already a button that Joe created for us that will take you straight to the budget. Brent already covered most of the budget message in the executive summary, so we're just gonna jump right into financial. So if you are in your devices, you can just click on the arrow and open up financials, or you can also go to page 13 on the printed budget. So the first page has a graph with all the funds for the district. The total district budget would be 73,350,000 this time. For the main budget for the district, or the main fund, is the general fund, which represents 65% of the total budget at 47,825,000. Next, we have the grants and special revenue fund, which is the fund where we have all the grants and other restricted revenue sources dedicated to specific purposes. Excuse me. The total budget for this fund is $18,030,000. Next, we have the debt service fund at $4,125,000. And for the capital projects fund, we have $2,800,000 this time. This has the balance of the bond, the 2018 bond, as well as a small portion of the TES solar grant that will be finished this summer, as well as the SB 1149 fund, which is an energy savings fund. The smallest fund for the district is internal service fund. This is the fund that holds the reserves that we need to meet the unemployment liability for the district. Next, we have all fund summary budget comparison. In this graph, you can see the comparison between the current year budget and next year's budget, which, as Brent mentioned, is a decrease of $4 million for next year. If you go to page 15, it has personnel changes summary table for the funds for the district. So as you can see, there's a very small increase to the general fund, only 0.37 FTEs. And the main decrease is on the special revenue fund at 12.78 FTEs. So the net decrease will be 12.41 FTEs for next year.
I just want to reiterate too, we've been doing reducing staff by attrition for several years, knowing that our ADM security money from the state was going to end, which it did this year. And so that FTE represents either attrition, or in some cases we budgeted for that staff member last year that we never filled in. And so we cut it from the budget this year.
So the first fund for us, the general funds, you can just click on it, or on the printed copy. You can go to page 17. And if you're on your device, scroll down to the comprehensive fund summary. So the beginning fund balance for the proposed budget is $12.785 million, which is over 20% of total revenues. There's also a large reduction on state resources of $4,489,000. And this is due to the loss of the HB 4026, the ADM security grant, which will end at the end of this year. We also have a reduction on the contingency reserves for next year. We lowered it to $400,000. As you can see, the difference between expenditures and revenues for next year, expenditures are higher than revenues by $5,130,000. So the ending fund balance for next year is estimated to be $6,375,000, which represents a 13% of total revenues. So it's a decrease between the beginning fund balance and the ending fund balance of about $6.4 million. You scroll down, you will find revenues by source, or page 19 on the binder. So the main source of revenue for the district comes from state sources, which is the state school fund and the common school fund, which in total represents about 45% of the budget. Followed by property taxes, which are included in the local sources, about 28% of the budget. And other sources is pretty high this time because, as I mentioned, the beginning fund balance is pretty large. So it represents about a 27% of the total budget. If you scroll down or go to page 22, you will see a graph that has all the revenue sources for the district for the general fund. The largest, of course, is the state school funds, followed by the beginning fund balances time, and the current year taxes, estimate at 12,040,000. Now we're gonna move on to expenditures. So the first classification we have for expenditures on page 25 is the function. So functions classify expenditures according to their purpose. Major function categories also match the appropriation limits that the district is authorized to spend on each category. So of course, the major or the main function for the district is instruction, which represents about 45% of the budget this time, followed by support services to instruction, which is about 35% of the budget. The next classification, if you scroll down to expenditures by major object on page 27, objects describe the type of expenditure. So the main expenditures for the district are salaries and associated payroll costs, which in total together represent about 72% of the total cost of the district. The next category is the cost center on page 30 and 31. Cost centers are used to identify schools and other district-wide centers and programs. So you will see listed all the schools and also the district-wide programs for the district. If you continue scrolling, you will find a graph in a table for the fund balance. As mentioned before, this is on page 32. As mentioned before, the projected ending fund balance for the 26-27 year is $6,375,000, which represents a reduction from the current year budget of 31%. And on page 33, to continue scrolling down, you will see that there's a personnel summary table. You will see that there's a lot of reductions to all the schools, with the exception of Town Elementary School. This is due to a transfer from the SIA grant for a speech pathologist FTE, as well as 1.47 FTEs of special education instructional assistants that were hired in the current year for new students, and the positions we're gonna have a need for them for next year. There was also an increase on the instructional services department, and this is due to the need that we had to transfer a partial FTE of the community care positions from funding sources, grant funding sources that were ending this year, or that were cut early, like the school-based mental health grant, which was reduced for the current year and completely eliminated for next year. There was also an increase on district office staff. This is for a temporary office assistant that will help us digitize HR records that existed only in paper. And also we have some old paper records that we need to keep for 75 years for PERS purposes. So this person will be busy scanning the whole year. So
Where are the robots?
but it's important, you know,
Yeah,
it's a lot of paper. You don't need to keep it safe. All the information. So next we have the cost centers. As I mentioned before, we use cost centers to classify all the schools and the district-wide programs. So if you open the arrow on the side for those that are looking at the digital copy, you click on the first one, will be Phoenix High School. And
What page?
it will be page 36 to 37. This will show us expenditures by for the high school. And these are classified or organized by areas or curriculum areas. The first area, though, it says undesignated. This has all the support services that the high school needs, like the office of the principal, counseling services, library services, maintenance. So that's why it's an undesignated area, but the rest of them have to do with instruction. On page 37, you will see that there was an increase, a total increase for the high school of $266,000. The next cost center is our Talent Middle Schools. It's on page 68. And please let me know if you have any questions as I'm going through the cost centers. I'm just gonna give you a summary and the total that was increased or decreased, but please feel welcome to let me know if you have any questions in between.
Just real quick, the high school is the largest cost center of any school, just because of the programming and things of that nature. And you'll see when we add $288,000, some of it is because of the dues and fees that continue to go up. Whether it's at the high school athletically, those types of things that are, we have to continue to adjust with.
Quick question, Yasmin, where is the ag instruction hidden in here?
Okay, so
It's probably split in a couple different ones, but I don't know.
we'll go to the printed copy as well. So on the cost centers, or the page 46.
Yeah, 136.
Ag is actually called natural resource systems.
It's in where?
Natural resource systems.
Oh,
I know it doesn't say agriculture, but I guess it has all natural systems, including horticulture as well. So maybe that's the way it's designated by the state. We're just gonna follow the chart of accounts. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's agriculture.
okay.
I have a question, and the math and the science seem to be really reduced. Did we lose any positions there, or what happened?
No, basically we had a financial literacy teacher went to be moved to the high school during this year. But at the end, they were able to cover that position with existing staff. So it wasn't really a cut, we just didn't hire that position this year. So that's the change that you see there is because he was a half math, half social studies, I believe, or science.
Yeah.
Science, and that's why you see a reduction there.
With the new, that's a really good question. With the new requirements of financial literacy and some college and career that came into effect this year, we thought we were gonna have to move a middle school teacher that was doing financial literacy to the high school. And so at this time last year, we budgeted for that position. It came down to it, we did not fill. Because we absorbed it with some social studies, some other staff members that were able to cover those costs.
So it's covered.
And it's covered, the curriculum's covered, and we're not required until after next year, maybe, to do that, but we started this year anyway.
So if you scroll down or go to the last page of Phoenix High School, which will be that we're talking about FTEs, you will see the change on each one of the different areas. On page 65, yes. So what we're talking about, the half FTE on science and half FTE on math is reflected there. The one negative for undesignated was for a secretary position that was not hired during the year. So that was a decrease. And then for physical education, we do have a decrease of 0.25 FTE at this time. But there's also an increase on health services. It's for the EMS class, emergency medical technician. And we had to, the emergency flights grant is ending this year. So we wanted to continue the class, therefore we had to fund it from general fund. So that's why you see the increase from 0.5.
That was a 2-year grant, and then when we met with Mercy Flights, they agreed to continue their part of it as long as we scheduled the classes. And we said, heck yeah, because it's a great partnership with Mercy Flights. And so that's why I had to get back into the general. I don't know if you remember the last budget trying to find the increase or decrease in FTE, but this is much easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moving on to Allen Middle School on page 68. And by the way, I wanted to recognize Joe. He shared a bunch of beautiful pictures that I tried to include for each one of the different schools. So please feel welcome to look at them because I think he did a great job. On page 68, it showed that the middle school had an increase of a total of $180,000 this year. Their FTE change was very small, I believe it was only at 0.27.
Question about the special education dropping 156,000.
Was that for the middle school?
Yes.
So the reduction was because we transferred a special education teacher to the IDA grant.
Oh, okay.
So we were leveraging funds. We were able, the IDA grant didn't have a reduction. So we were able to have an additional teacher there. There was also a reduction though of an instructional assistant. And this has to do with students moving to the high school or different roles.
That's one reason why that high school increased that much is because we had that staff member move with that student who was working with that student one-on-one from the middle school and now is going to the high school.
And you said, Jasmine, that was the IDEA funds?
The IDA grant.
Okay.
Special education. And also just talking about the school-based mental health grant. So we had the need to transfer a counselor to the general fund. So you will see once we move to the grants, we were able to fund only a third of her FTE for the grant ends at the end of this year. So the remaining of the school year for next year, she will be funded by general fund. So the net increase or decrease for the middle school was a total of 0.27.
What page is that on?
91.
91, you said?
It's 91. So the undesignated, the 1.67, it's actually a counselor from a different grant, from SIA, and the 0.67 comes from the SDNH of the school-based mental health grant. Now, if we go to the next class semester and elementary school. As I mentioned before, we did have an increase on FTEs for them. And it was mainly because we had a speech language pathologist that was transferred from the SIA grant to the middle school, to elementary school. So that's why there's an increase, but also we had new students for special education services, the needs of, we increased our 1.478 million aids as well. Next, if you think of Phoenix Elementary School, that's on page 109. For Phoenix Elementary School, you scroll down to expenditures by cost center or the printed copy on page 91, you will see we have a decrease of $35,000. And this is mainly due to we had a reduction on general education as a whole teacher FTE for the school.
due to enrollment, we ended up having 3 fifth grade classes that are going to the middle school, and we only have 2 incoming kindergarten. So we were teacher heavy, and we had a space for that teacher at Talent Elementary. So we transferred us to teacher.
Next cost center in page 134. It's Orchard Hill Elementary School. So for Orchard Hill Elementary School, we had an increase of $116,000. And the main reduction is in special education. We have the one speech pathologist transferred to the SIA fund. So I don't know if you remember, elementary school, we had one moving into general fund, and we transferred one from Orchard Hill to the grant. So there was just that strategic move. There was also a reduction on instructional assistance, and it has to do with enrollment and the need for special education services as well.
Excuse me real quick, going back to, you said that kindergarten enrollment was down from 3 to 2 at Phoenix. Do you normally get those types of swings?
It's not, we've had 2 classes come in, we just, that was a bubble for us at 5th grade. And I think we have a little bubble at 4th grade there too, but we have about 2 classes of kinders. I mean, hopefully we have more and we have the room for more, but you know,
So 2 is normal.
2
That's
is
about
pretty
what we
normal.
have.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've had 3, I mean, we all had 3 at one time when we were at, you know, 2,800 kids or 2,600 kids, so. But we're just not there anymore.
Okay, but it's not declining, is it stable?
This year, we were up like 11 students.
Okay.
So it's not declining.
Okay.
But it's the first year we were up. We were flat last year.
Yeah.
And we're hoping with some of the building and things of that nature, when the multifamily housing went in Talent, we saw a big jump. That's why their enrollment is now the highest in the district. So Orchard Hill is needing some development, I think, on the east side of the freeway in Phoenix. Once that starts going in, that'll help Orchard Hill a lot. It's a lot of, we don't have young families necessarily buying some of those homes, those newer development homes over there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yasmin, sorry for interrupting. Continue.
Any question? No.
That's okay, that's what we're here for. So the next 2 centers are Phoenix Talent Rising Academy and Phoenix Rising Early Learning Center. So Phoenix Talent Rising Academy, they didn't have a big change on the reduction of 41 FTEs. That will be reflected on page 142. Their funding is mainly on the SIA grant. So their general fund budget is a lot smaller. Now with Phoenix Talent Rising, PTS Rising, sorry, I get them sometimes mixed up. PTS Rising Early Learning Center. For them, most of their funding is on grant funding through the Preschool Promise Grant. So there was even a larger reduction on general funds. This time, let me see, it's on page 144. You will see there's a reduction of $19,000. So most of their funding went to grant funding for this year. And all their FTEs are in grant funding as well, through the Preschool Promise Grant. Next, we have the district office. It's on page, starts on page 148. And I'm looking at page 157, which if you are on the device, you can scroll down to the end of that lesson. For district office, we had an increase of $232,000 on our budget. But this is mainly because we had a 15% increase on property and liability insurance from PACE. Well, that's the projection, unless, Dawn, if you know something I don't know.
I do know something, you know, it's not gonna be that high.
Oh, good, okay, that's what we were told, when I went to the last conference, so.
Yeah, they
you know,
said
just go
12.
for the higher one.
They said 12 to 15, but now it's 9.5 to 12.
Oh, good, okay, well, we may have a little bit extra on the budget, but right now it was about 77,000 we had to add, just for property and liability insurance. And as I mentioned before, we have the temporary position for next year, and we had to add a little bit extra on, for a new board and superintendent secretary, about 6 to 8 weeks, so she can train or he with our dear Denise, because she's planning to retire next year. So we have to get ready for that.
The board can certainly deny that too.
Yeah. The next cost center is special education. On page 162. There's an increase of $71,000. And this is primarily due to speech and language pathology services that were contracted in the current year that will continue into the next year. Next cost center is instructional services. Page 165. There was an increase of $237,000 to their budget. And it's mainly for those FTEs that we had to transfer for community care to the instructional services department. We also included a small income reserve for textbooks, just in case we don't have enough grant funding from SIA. It's about total was supposed to be $100,000, but with some other reductions that we did in supplies and materials, it's about $94,000 that we have extra on textbooks, just in case it's needed. For maintenance, it's on page
67.
167. There wasn't a big, was that
168.
168? There wasn't a big change on maintenance, with the exception of the contractual increase for salaries and benefits. As for information technology, it's on page 170. For information technology, we had to increase their budget by $426,000. We have a planned capital expenditure to change some of the network switches. So the IT department wanted to take advantage of the E-rate funding before it's further reduced or eliminated in the near future. So they will be replacing network switches for all the schools to improve the local area network connectivity. So the E-rate program, it's a federal program, it will reimburse 85% of the cost. And the net cost for the district would be about, it will be 15%, which is about $64,000.
We do this every 5 to 10 years or so, and I think our last one was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I believe you can qualify every 5 years, so we have to take advantage of that funding while it's here.
Is there anything we can submit to PACE as well with that? I know that they have some discounts if you're up to speed with networking and stuff like that. Have we looked into that yet?
As far as incentives or actual
Yeah.
grant programs?
No, as far as like, it's actually like reduction of your percentage of how much you're paying at PACE.
Yeah, we do, yeah, Alan, and same with maintenance and HR, we try to maximize all those incentives.
I know that we get the 5% reduction.
Yeah.
To training, and I don't know if there's additional with all the cyber security training that we go.
It wouldn't hurt to ask.
But yes, that's a good idea, we should look into it. Other cost centers that we have is student transportation. We have a new contract for next year, and the rates are gonna go up about 5%. So the increase is about $50,000. And this is, of course, considering the same number of branches that we have currently this year. Early retirement is just for our retirees. Right now, we know about a few people that are retiring. And if they qualify for the early retirement incentive, if they started working for the district before 2020, 2003,
Yeah.
or 2002, then they can qualify for an incentive or a stipend if they are teachers. So right now we have a lesser amount than the year before. It's been decreasing as people retire. It's been a few years now, but we do have quite a bit of teachers that started working for the district before 2003. Next cost center is debt service funds. It's on page 191 to 195. Sorry, I was misreading. Is it debt service and reserve? This is on the general fund still. So on this cost center, we have the beginning fund balance or the ending fund balance, which is the unappropriated ending fund balance, which I mentioned before, it's an estimated $6,375,000. We also carry the debt service for the pension funds in the general fund in this cost center, as well as the contingency reserve. So this cost center is going to decrease about almost $3 million, $2,980,000 in total. Now we will move on to the next fund, the special revenue fund. Look at the nice picture I have here. Look at that.
I did not realize that picture.
You're in my budget. So, the special revenue fund is on page 176 through 190. So for those that are on the devices, if you scroll down all the way to the end of the cost center, or almost all the way to the end, you will see that there's a reduction of over $2 million through this fund. $2,065,000. It was page 90, sorry, 190 was the change on FTE. The reduction I was talking about.
Is this one here?
Yes. It also shows at the end. So if you look at page 188, with total expenditures, it will show the reduction of $2 million. And if you go to page 190, that shows the reduction on FTE that we have to do. So operations. So of course, the ones that are listed, the highest is the ones that were related to the ADM security grant, the HB 4026. On the SIA portion is 5.35 FTEs that were transferred to other funding or that were eliminated. We also have the high school success portion of the ADM security grant. That was only one FTE, one teacher on special assignment that was transferred to the regular High School Success Act grant. There was also a reduction on student investment account FTEs of 2.573 FTEs. We had to reduce instructional assistance to be able to balance this grant. So some of them had to be transferred to the general fund. It was 1.19 FTEs. There was also, like Brent mentioned, fine arts instructional assistant position that had been budgeted for this year that was never hired. So we just eliminated that position for next year. And there was a 0.5 FTE of the construction teacher that we moved to the High School Success Act grant for next year.
What is the opioid recovery trust grant?
That's a grant we applied for earlier last year, I think. And received that. It's probably a pretty significant amount of money for the next 3 years.
Is that a federal, state?
That is a federal, yeah.
Well, I think it comes from, I thought that it was a state grant, but it's actually from local sources.
It came from do you remember the lawsuit that came out? Hundreds of billions of dollars. So I think that was a federal lawsuit, but it came through states and I think Oregon got whatever, $40 billion or something to do grants and education with. So, and it was a competitive grant, so they just didn't give it to anybody. And so, I want to say something.
So we get that for
$500,
yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, we get that for 3 years. So,
Sacklers, the Sacklers, the family.
yeah, it was the prescription opioid
Yeah.
lawsuit that was over like 400 some billion dollars. So, good question. And I will tell you, and Yasmin knows this better than anybody. When we apply for grants, we tend to get them, and it brings its own little management challenges, but it really helps allow us to really leverage funds and stay healthy on our general fund budget.
Yeah. Well, I just read that, kind of glanced and I'm like, what is that? Yeah. Okay, great.
Well, Kelly's not here, but she's the one that knows the most about the grant, but it's a dedicational grant.
Yeah.
And so when you apply for that, it's for a certain period of time?
Yeah, and then you have reporting, we put in exactly what we're trying to do. We partner with a drug and alcohol counselor that we have full-time in our schools, it's mainly concentrated at the secondary schools. So it's a huge benefit to our community.
I wanna say it's like 500,000 in 3 years. We already received $240,000 earlier this year. Start funding the grant, so.
There's a nice little story on our website. If you do a Google search on PTS opioid grant, there's a little story on our website about it.
Great.
Okay, here we are. Okay. So I also wanted to mention Title 1A, there's a reduction on the funding, so we had to transfer some of the instruction assistants that we had there to the general fund, so that's why there's a reduction of 1.2 M. Other than that, as you can see, I was talking about the school-based mental health grant that was reduced earlier this year. So the 0.33 FTE that we have for the counselor through the end of this calendar year is what we have in the budget, and the rest of the budget will be in. There was also a reduction to the preschool promise grants, 0.62 FTE at this point.
I just want you to recognize the student investment account, FTE that we have in there. That's a really big chunk, and I know that gets talked about in state budgets about the student investment account, and if we need to continue to support that. It makes a huge difference. It's over $2 million to us. In addition to our state school fund. So when you're talking to the legislature, that's coming up. What do you use that for? We use that for our music program. We had to cut K-5 music several years ago, 2008 and 2009. Some of you guys were here when that happened. It took us a long time to recover. We still haven't fully recovered, but that's what allowed us to be able to bring those programs back.
It also supports a lot of the mental health programs for children. So behavior specialists, psychologists, speech pathologists, nurse as well. You know, a lot of those fees are supported by this investment account. So it's very, very important. At this point, we have 23.76 FTEs budgeted for just for that grant. So moving on to the next fund, the debt service fund, it's on page 191 through 195. So for this grant, for this fund, we have an increase of $145,000. And this is just due to higher principal and interest payments scheduled for the 26-27 year. I also included a different section talking about debt service. If you click on long-term debt for people that are on their devices and open up the arrow on the side, it will be on page 196 for the printed copy. So on the debt service payments by funds, we have debt service, as I mentioned before, in the general fund for the pension bonds and in the debt service fund just to handle the 2018 bond. The next graph is the debt by type. So as you can see, it opens it up more. So it's the 2004 OSBA first pension bonds and the 2018 general obligation bonds in the debt service fund. So I wanted to include the debt service obligation to 2028 to show the end of the 2004 first pension bond obligation. The district is working with OASBO, the Oregon Association of School Business Officials, and Piper Jeffrey to determine if it's feasible or cost effective to go out for another pension bond with other school districts around the state to see if we can lower the first rate for the next biennium. It is expected to go from 20% that we currently have in average to a 27% cost of total payroll cost, which is pretty high. The next graph on page 200, it's general obligation bond property tax levy rate analysis. So the graph shows the actual bond rate, which has been below the 1.49 per 1,000 of assessed value that we published on the ballot when we passed the bond.
So just to talk a little bit more about the bond. So this is, we sold and advertised the bond at 149 per thousand. It's never hit that and it's now down at 131. We also, you might have noticed in one of the first slides, still have about $1.8, $1.9 million in bond funds after everything we've done and leveraging our funding, and John's been a huge help with this, with other incentives. It was a $68 million bond with premium. It was about 71, 72 million. And we've had about $84 million in projects. And we still have about $1.8, $1.9 million. So thank you to Yasmin, this team, this community, for that gift and that benefit. And it's really been paying off.
So I wanted to mention too, the levy rates are affected by property values, as well as the levy amount that the district asks the county to collect. So due to higher interest rates in the past few years, as you can see, the rate going down, the district has been able to pass on some savings to taxpayers by reducing the effective levy rate collected.
And wait, there's more. Thank you.
Yeah, so that higher interest rate has benefited everybody.
Yeah, it really has.
Including the taxpayers. The next fund is the capital projects fund. It's on page 202. From the revenues by fund, it shows that there's a decrease of $1.25 million for next year's budget. So this fund, as I mentioned before, we have the balance of the bond monies as well as a little bit of the extra work that needs to be done for the TES Solar ODE grant, ODE grant. And also the SB 1149 grant, which is for energy savings for schools. It's a reimbursement that we receive after John sends the energy savings measures. We receive a reimbursement back from this grant.
Yasmin, you said we have how much left? That's in the,
So for the bond monies, I have an estimated ending fund balance for the current year of 1.77 million, which will be the resources beginning fund balance of the next year. So if you scroll over, let's see what page is that. On page 208. I have a graph too that shows the total expenditures for the bond since it started in 2017-18, all the way through the current year. So as you can see on the graph, most of the monies have gone, of course, to the high school. It's over $60 million. And next, after that, the elementary school, that's $7,255,000, followed by the elementary schools. So the total that has been spent on the bond or projected for the end of this year, it will be $83,643,000. The last fund is internal service fund. This fund we had created 2 years ago to hold reserves for the unemployment liability for the district. So for this budget, we show an increase of $220,000, but it's really just because we're carrying a bigger fund balance from this year to the next of $420,000. So we actually reduced the unemployment rate from 1.5 that we have in the current year to 0.5% for the next year. Since the district has had a summer school grant for the past 3 years, the unemployment cost for classified employees for the summer break has been lower than we had anticipated. So we are trying to use up those extra reserves that we have. And we're pretty much at the end of the budget document. On the appendix, I included, if you click on or go to page 214, there's a link there for the proposed budget that our accounting system creates, which you're familiar with this type of budget, but I included the link for you guys if you wanted to review it. And this has the full detail that we presented before.
If you like the new format, but I do this.
Good. Took us a little bit of time, but we finally got it. I also included a glossary of terms and acronyms, hopefully I find it useful. And so we're at the end of the presentation, so have any more questions? Please let us know.
Yeah, I mean, this is not to do with the budget, but it has to do with how it affects the school district. SOU, cutting all the classes and such. You know, if I get to school here and I wanted to keep them around me and send them to SOU, you know,
Well, it's not only just our school, K-12, I think it'll have a huge impact on our community if we don't continue to have some semblance of SOU. And just full disclosure, I'm a trustee on that board too, so it's been a rough couple of weeks there, but that does impact. We have a lot of partnership with SOU. Our Pires to Raiders was, super innovative when you started in middle school, and then you have automatic acceptance into SOU, upon certain, graduation and things of those nature. So
the API classes.
yeah, and well, there's early advanced credit classes, I think it's called, that we offer for a school our size, a number of them. And many of your kids maybe took advantage of those to cut off some time in higher ed, a semester, maybe a year, which is definitely a cost saving role as well. So, I mean, it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't necessarily impact this budget, it impacts how we partner and definitely will impact potentially people moving to our area and things of that nature. Yeah, so.
I have a question.
Yeah, Rick.
Something jumped out at me on your page 10. That 71.1% economically disadvantaged.
You said,
Page 10
Page 10.
on the demographics.
yeah. Economically disadvantaged,
What does that mean? Is there a certain
the poverty
income level?
level, poverty rate. And I will say, we qualify for a community eligibility program as far as our food service. So we have no charge breakfast and lunch based on our high poverty level in our, in our region.
Are we saying 71% of our students?
Yeah, where we got that, you wanna share where you got that information?
Well, maybe Tiffany, can you help me with this one?
So it's basically the number of students that qualify for free or reduced lunch. We get the numbers based on direct like social services like TANF, housing assistance that is provided to students, families that are in our district. Then we can add on students that receive foster care services, migrant education services. And then there's a multiplier that everybody in the state uses to account for people who maybe didn't fill out their free and reduced lunch application forms or don't otherwise want social services or can't qualify for that. So we did a big push after the fire. Our level dropped as far as who automatically qualifies because we have fewer people living in our zip codes, basically. And so we had to do a push for our families to fill out that free and reduced lunch application, even though lunch and breakfast is free for everyone. So you can see we had a little bump in there just based on having a higher number of families that responded to our request to get their income level.
I'm a reference, just curious if you have the numbers for Medford and Ashland school districts. You know, those.
Like not offhand, but they're available publicly, yes. We're higher percentage wise.
Yeah.
We were just looking at that, Yasmin, so I'm trying to.
Yeah, I was trying to remember as well. I mean, for what I saw on the trends for economically disadvantaged, they are higher than in prior years. And I think it has to do because now we don't have families filling out those income forms. So since our whole district is free, then it looks like we have a lot more poverty as well. But there was also an increase after COVID-19. And the state also reduced the threshold for us to be able to include those schools as free. So in fact, I was just sharing with Brent earlier that we went ahead and looked at the application for, it's called community eligibility provision, which it will allow us to extend for all our school, our students, free lunch and breakfast through 2030. So we went ahead and filed another application, even though we had it for free 100% through 2028. We wanted to extend another 2 years, just in case we have more changes to the environment that we have right now in our politics. So it was recommended to us through OSBA and other organizations. So we went ahead and did that, and we received not quite 100%. It looks like there's have been some changes already to the way they calculate those percentage, but we were able to reach almost a 98%. So it's a 97.5% reimbursement. So we have 2 more years of free lunch and breakfast for all our students through June 30th of 2030.
I like the benefit, but I got it.
Yes.
Well, we sort of dipped a little bit into this discussion and question session a little bit. We skipped our recess, but does anybody have any more questions or comments? We could probably continue without the recess and propose something here, if everybody's amenable to that. Any more discussion or questions on what we've heard so far? Do we have any public comment? Is there anybody on the public signed in today? You're aware of?
I don't have one. Charles Pierce.
Okay. Any comments from the public on the proposed budget so far? You're welcome to speak. Charles, if you're on and want to say something, you don't have to. Nothing? Okay. Well, I guess at this point, if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion. Joe has, something here he'd like to.
Mr. Chair,
To us.
I would move that the Phoenix Talent School District proposed budget for 2026-2027 in the aggregate amount of $73,350,000 total of all funds be recommended for approval, and that the permanent tax rate of $4.2422 per thousand of assessed value be assessed in support of the general fund. The permanent tax rate is expected to raise $12,040,000. I further move that a tax of $4,050,000 be recommended for approval for the debt service fund for the purpose of the regiment of bonded debt owed by the school district. So the detail would be general fund, $47,825,000, special revenue fund, $18,030,000, debt service fund, $4,125,000, capital projects fund, $2,800,000, internal service fund, $570,000 for a total of $73,350,000.
73,350,000.
350,000.
Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded at that end, okay. Any further discussion? Budgets? Not? Should we take roll on this, or should we just?
I think it's better to take roll on
Okay,
these.
let's take roll on this. We'll start at this end with Polly.
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes.
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 Yes, and the chair votes yes also. Okay, but motion carries.
Yeah.
We have a budget that we propose to send forward to the school board. And appreciate everybody coming and you guys putting all this
Yes.
effort into it. I know you get paid for it, but that doesn't matter. It's still a lot of work. You know,
I really appreciate, this was a little bit different because it was a new system, and so not just putting together a $73 million budget, but Yasmin really working. Just her and her team working through this document and the new system. So thank you to you and your team. Thank you to the volunteers. Thank you to the staff.
yeah, and Dwayne would like to say,
I want to say just those meetings, that meeting we had, that was just really helpful. Just to help clarify things and kind of get my mind going for this meeting. And this thing is awesome. I could actually look through it and because I'm into that. Yeah, I'm a nerd. I could actually read it and it made sense. And it's like, I'm not flipping through just columns of numbers. The charts were great. It just helps me be better, and the student information, all that. So kudos to you and your team. That's great. Yeah.
okay, thank you all. We're adjourned.
Bye.
So